All right, Greg, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. Good to be back. We should, as we encourage agents to continue their education and get smarter all the time, we just did that here for the past couple of days down in Nashville. And
Yep.
we spent 4 days with 16 brokers from around the country, all with different size companies, ranging from what, 200 to 700, 800.
Yep. All over the country, from
So
just outside of New York City, Oklahoma City, Nashville,
Oh, they were all over
um,
the place,
all
right?
over.
All the way to Vermont.
Yep.
Um, yep. So Florida.
It was pretty fascinating conversation hearing about everybody's commission structures and commission plans and how's everyone handling the Compass purchase of Anywhere and how's everyone handling the private markets and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it was interesting. So we took a survey in the room, didn't we, to see if a couple of things. One, people asked if AI was overrated or underrated, and they asked if private networks were overrated or underrated.
Right. Right. Well, that's one of the things that I'd like to share with the agent community today. Is a little bit. A young boy just walked into my front door. Joyce, did you see that? Okay, sorry,
Whoops,
guys.
wrong door.
Wrong door. So anyway, there was an article written just in the last couple of days. The guy's name is Jay Thompson, and he writes fairly regularly in the real estate industry. And um, so here's the title of his talk, and it's on this private listing network thing. And again, I don't even know, Paul, how much we need to describe to the agent community. I'm assuming that agents are aware of this, that first off, it was Compass that said they were going to take listings offline and not put them in
Hmm.
MLS. They were going to hold them private. Then Zillow said this is awful, and then all of a sudden Zillow creates their own called Zillow Previews.
Yep.
Then and they take in Remax and Keller Williams and Berkshire Hathaway and several others. And then EXP just hooked up with Homes.com to create a private network. And then there's another organization with a bunch of old traditional brokers called Leading Real Estate Companies of the World.
They're
And
making their
they
own
just
pond.
they just make their own pond. And I think you maybe said in a previous one of these videos, live streams, that if you think that if Compass thinks that they're the only ones that are going to do this, they're really poorly mistaken. They really haven't evaluated this properly. Well, now just about everybody's created it. Then, after Remax and Keller Williams got on this deal with Zillow, 29 other brokers around the country signed up last week.
With Zillow?
I don't even know who they are, but it's snowballing, right? And
Yeah,
so,
it's just gonna be, in my opinion, I just think it's gonna be it's another form of a coming soon. We've seen these things all the time. We've seen these little things come and go. I don't think what we're watching is the public demand shifting. I think what
no,
we're watching is a power grab, and we're watching gigantic giants um elbowing each other for position in the market. And I think they're looking for whatever they can do to try to differentiate themselves from the other portals.
I don't
I
even
think that, and so I think if I'm a betting person, I would probably bet that Zillow Preview wins because they get about 200 million, 250 million monthly views compared to Redfin's 60 million views.
Yeah,
And when you add Keller Williams, Remax, all the other brands together, and all the other companies that have signed on to Zillow, Zillow is clearly the juggernaut in the room by comparison. But I don't think that's even the end game. I don't even think it's about the preview marketplace. I don't even think it's about the private marketplace anymore. I think like I said, I think that like a fraction of sellers are interested in keeping their house off of the market privately. I think that most people would say they want more views on their home, not less. I think they want more bidders, not less. So it
Well,
leaves me like really thinking like, what are we watching here?
yeah.
What are we actually watching?
Well, I want to give you some quotes from this
Okay.
article. I think this will help some of us, including myself, understand what this is all about. So private listings, and these are going to be some quotes. So this isn't my own original thinking. This is taking it, lifting it from somebody else. Um, Private listings are not about choice. They're about power. Okay. The debate focuses on consumers, marketing strategies, flexibility, privacy, and even morality. But it's really about who controls access to the housing market. And then for those for and against private listings, both are touting their stance as pro-consumer. What they don't say, it's actually a fight for relevance and leverage. Zillow's moves are an attempt to protect their model, while Compass wants to control supply. Reasonable business decisions, but not moral crusades. Agents, meanwhile, are stuck in the middle, trying to advise clients while decoding a fragmented system that didn't used to be this complicated. So then he goes on, he says, let's stop pretending. The private listing debate in real estate is about seller choice or marketing strategy. Um, it's about one thing: who gets to control the inventory and who gets locked out.
And I think what they're trying to do, I do think that if you're a big broker, like say Compass or like say Keller or Remax or, Five Star, hypothetically, I think if you're, I'll say this. If if you're Compass and you're trying to be a luxury realtor, brokerage, hypothetically, you only want to work in these, whatever you want, whatever you're trying to be, whatever, if everything lands onto Zillow side by side, what that means is your $1.5 million listing, your $5 million listing lands right next to the FSBO helper who paid $200 to have FSBO helper stick their listing on the MLS for them to get placed onto Zillow for them. So you have a premium brokerage listing their property here on the number one platform, and you have someone who paid $200 to place the listing right next to them. I
Yep.
think that what's really going on here is they're trying to eliminate looking the same. They're trying to eliminate being whittled down to a photo of an exterior of a home.
I think that, Paul, I think that there could be a lot of these things. Let me continue, and I'm
Okay.
going to get to, I've got about 11 points here I got to make. So here's the industry approved explanation, AKA the polite version. Sellers want privacy. That's what Compass has been talking about. Agents want flexibility. That's the putting it on the market or keeping it
Yep.
private. Brokerages want to optimize outcomes. I think that's double dipping. Then
Yep.
sounds reasonable, but here's what people are saying off the record, AKA the truth, as this Jay Thompson has written. Brokerages want exclusive inventory they can weaponize, number one. Portals want complete inventory they can monetize. And MLSs want to stay relevant before they get disintermediated. So really, the in one of the things that I think the agent community needs to understand here is that right now the MLS community doesn't really care what all this hubbub is about because they've got their rules, right? The question is, are the MLSs going to be able to withstand this onslaught, or are these larger companies, organizations going to go around them and create their own so-called MLS, thereby making the current MLS structure irrelevant? Um,
Yep. Well, Robert came out last week and said that if any MLSs fine any of the Anywhere realtors for doing these tactics, they will stand behind them. They will file lawsuits, etc.
One of the brokers that was with us out west in Colorado, said that in his market, the Compass agents are just totally ignoring all the MLS rules. The MLS is not enforcing, and
Well, the MLS is going to be, this is the thing that I think is actually happening here. I think that we're watching a battle against the MLS.
yeah.
I think that the portals and the big brokers are basically cornering the MLS. The MLS is going to have no choice but to back down when uh, two-thirds of your membership says we disagree with you.
So one of the things that Compass wanted in where this battle started was they did not want days on market, they did not want price reductions, and they didn't want to be required to put the listing on the market day one on the open market MLS on day one. So if all the MLSs got together and said, okay, we're going to remove days on market because that may not be favorable to the seller. And we're supposed to be neutral, right? As an MLS, we represent buyers and sellers. So we shouldn't do anything that helps one or at the expense of the other, right? So if using days on market is creates a tool for buyers to negotiate, if price reductions creates another advantage for a buyer, then maybe they should be removed. We always, I think everything that we've done, there's still these remnants of
Hmm.
all represented the seller, right? And I think that's one of these last remnants of when we all used to represent the
So
seller. Very simple.
I I think that even if the MLS does these things, that you'll just see the large brokers find another point. They'll find another weak point in the MLS to try to break them there. I just, I don't I don't know.
Well, let me go on. There's more
Yeah.
here.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, this guy, again, guy's name is Jay Thompson. If they want to look up the article, you probably can Google private listings aren't about choice, they're about power. And then he goes on and he says a private listing isn't just a marketing choice, it's a gate. If you're inside the network, you have access. If you're outside, good luck. Then he goes on, that's not a marketplace, that's a nightclub. And the bouncer is holding your client's biggest financial asset. So let's call it what it is, a system where access is rationed, not distributed. Thought that was pretty interesting. What do you think about that?
I don't disagree. I think what I'm watching is publicly traded companies, many publicly traded companies, fighting for market share, fighting for shareholder value, fighting not for the realtors. They're not fighting for the public. They don't represent the public. They represent the market. They represent shareholders. Robert Revkin works for shareholders.
Yeah. And so does Zillow.
And so does Zillow. They do not represent buyers or sellers. Yes, technically they do, but who employs them? Who
Yeah.
owns them? They're
Yeah.
owned by the market.
Yeah. So goes on. Next caption says Zillow didn't take a stand. They protected the castle. When Zillow introduced new
Yeah.
listing access standards last April, they presented it as list the property everywhere or don't list it with us. But it wasn't a moral crusade. It was a business decision dressed up in consumer language. Because here's the reality. Zillow's entire model depends on being the default destination for listings. Without inventory, it's just a pretty
Well,
interface.
this is hilarious that Zillow would take a shot at Compass. And I'm not defending either party here, but it's funny that Zillow would take a shot at Compass over this because Zillow had Make Me Moves where they had exclusive private inventory of off-market properties. This is not new. They had Make Me Moves a long time ago. There's been Zillow coming soons. There's been all sorts of things that Zillow has done. Zillow also had an instant offers thing where they would literally try to avoid listings going to you as a
Yeah.
listing agent. They would offer instant offers on these people's properties. They didn't have to work with you. So but then after they call out Compass for damaging buyers and sellers for not giving full and maximum exposure, now they pitch the Zillow previews as the next best things in sliced bread, now offering realtors another opportunity to market their properties. Oh, 2 weeks
So
after calling Compass evil.
So here it goes. So yes, Zillow leaned hard into fair access messaging, right? It's all about fairness. That's what they were
Yeah.
promoting.
Yeah.
But strip that away, and what you've got is more like this. If we can't show it, nobody should.
Right.
And that's not neutrality, it's market protection. Then he goes after Compass. Compass didn't disrupt, they hoarded. And he says Compass understood the game faster than most. They build internal inventory pipelines, keep listings off the broader market longer, turn access into a competitive advantage. That's not an innovative consumer strategy. It's
No.
classic supply control. If everyone can see it, you don't have an advantage. If only your clients can see it, you do have an advantage. Again, not immoral, but let's not confuse it with some consumer first breakthrough.
No, no. And so that's where in my mind, when I look at this stuff, I go, the solution to pollution is dilution. So every time I see a new private market launching, I'm like, great, let's just bring them on. Everybody launch your private markets. Let's go. Everyone run. We should have a private market in Michigan, private market on the West Coast, private market at Five Star, private market at Coldwell, private market at Remax. You should have a Zillow private market. You should have a Homes.com private market, a Redfin private market.
Yeah.
Everyone's just going to have a private market. And it's just going to be a very sort of fractured thing where no one has a real advantage over anyone.
Okay, so that we don't assume too much here about what the agents know, can you give a brief summary of the three-phase
So
Compass?
the three-phase marketing plan is the first phase is an office exclusive listing. An office exclusive listing is something where you can take a listing in-house, you only advertise it internally, you can't have broad access so people can look in and see it. You can't
No,
advertise it.
no open houses, no
No,
social media.
it's exclusive. So we were talking to someone inside of the Compass network who was like, "Hey, look, just so you know, this off-market exclusive thing, it's not super robust. It's a bunch of addresses, it's the contact information, some little descriptions on the properties, and then you can call on it if you want to." I've spoken with some agents that work at Compass who have tried this. It doesn't really do much. They don't really they sell it as, "Oh, our private exclusives opportunity for us to test the pricing." That assumes you're getting feedback on your price.
Yeah, they're saying you want to test the market and you don't get days on market and you don't get price reduction showing up. And we're like, well, you're supposed to price it right in the first place, right?
Well, that also assumes like you're actually getting feedback on it. And the Zillow, the Compass realtors I've talked to are like, dude, I post these things on there. No one ever talks to me about them. It's rare that I get any feedback on it. It's so anyways, but that's the official narrative is that you're testing the market, you're trying it out. So that's phase one is an office exclusive. And by the way, guys, we can do office exclusives. They're not a new concept. They've just been rebranded as this sort of like private exclusive concept. They're just a form of a listing that you can only advertise internally. Then phase two goes from office exclusive into what's called a coming soon status. Now, most MLSs have their coming soon statuses now. So there's like a 7-day window or a 21-day window or a 3-day window that's coming
A
soon. And
24-hour window.
right, you go into your coming soon status, and then eventually you go from coming soon to on the market. So that's like the three-phase marketing plan that they talk about.
And some
And
of
yeah, that's what that
yeah,
is.
some of you might wonder, why is that? What's so big about this? Well, I think what if you understand what the owner of Compass is trying to do, we've never heard him say this publicly, but our assumption is that by doing this, he deprives Zillow of having the listings right there up front. And if you do that, the value of Zillow drops to all the agents that are paying to be there first. And so it potentially totally disrupts and potentially destroys Zillow if they can't have access to all the market on day one. So anyway, so let me keep going. Um, Compass understood the game better. Classic supply control. And then we've gone through all the lawsuits. Last June, Compass sued Zillow and cried monopoly. Zillow fired back with consumer protection. The court basically said not seeing it. Then Compass drops the case, at least for now, days after Zillow tweaked its listing policies. Everyone claimed a partial win, but the real takeaway isn't who won that round, it's this. The biggest players in residential real estate are now openly fighting over who gets to control access. That's where we're at, guys. And the question is it going to be a Compass? Is it going to be a Zillow? Is it going to be the MLSs? Um, can these two organizations who are extremely large, but yet when you look at it, the big picture, I think out of 1.4 some million agents, um, in all those companies combined, I think you have about 600,000, which means there's another 800 and some thousand agents that are not in these two organizations. So anyway, let's see here. So consumers are being sold a story and agents are the translators. For 20 years, the industry told buyers everything is online. Now, not so much. Some listings are delayed, some are selectively marketed, some never fully hit the open market. That's not transparency, it's curated access. And it means agents are fielding a new set of questions, which some of you might start getting if this hits our marketplaces. Um,
So
should we keep this off market? Buyers are asking, why can't I see all the listings? So what?
So what we were hearing from people who are operating inside of these marketplaces is none of the brokers believe that the three-phase marketing is better for the consumer. What's happening is that you're left with realtors who are facing FOMO. They're going, "Oh my gosh, am I going to miss out on my buyers or sellers if I don't have this thing?" And I think about it kind of like the NAR lawsuit. Almost, I think it was only 10% of buyers and sellers knew there was even a lawsuit. And I think like knew what it was. And something like 15% of people like had heard something about it, weren't really sure what it was. But in our minds, we're like, well, there goes buyer agency. I'm never getting paid again. I might as well retire, get a new job because I can't make a living anymore. Because as soon as people know my commission's negotiable, I'm toasted. I'm
Yes.
toast. Who's gonna pay me?
So fear.
Fear. And so we watched this with the NAR lawsuit, right? Everyone was going, people were coming out and saying, buyer agency is dead. It's over. We're going to double dip everything now. That didn't come true, not even remotely close. We had people say our commissions were going to be dropping to zero. They held strong across the country, universally.
Yep.
Um, and now we're being told that this new private exclusives thing and this new preview is going to be just such a game changer. You're not going to be able to function without it. And I
Right.
just don't think that's reality. I think it's another game of brokers being like, I've got this, you don't. I've got this, you don't. And it's a constant game of like, what do you have, what don't you have, and how do we make you feel like you're missing out? How do we make you feel like you're less than? How do we make you feel like this?
Yep. So one of the reasons that we're talking about this right now is not that it's a big deal, but that we want you to have some knowledge about it so that if it does come up in a conversation, you've at least had some thoughts about this. So we're going to try to talk about this a little bit more. Um, so anyway, so we're dealing with um, broker policies that don't align with MLS rules and portal rules that don't always align with brokerage strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Agents are no longer just advising clients; they're trying to decode a fragmented system that didn't used to be this complicated. And industries trying to have it both ways. NAR, portals, MLSs, and brokerages have introduced compromise policies like coming soon, delayed syndication, and pre-marketing windows, all in an attempt to balance open access, competitive advantage, and regulatory pressures. But here's the problem. You can't have a fully open marketplace and controlled inventory at the same time. Eventually, one will win, or we will live in a permanently fragmented middle.
Mm-hmm.
The debate isn't over. Private listings aren't the problem. They're symptoms of an industry wrestling with a simple, uncomfortable truth that whoever controls the listings controls the leverage. And right now, everyone wants the leverage. We didn't lose transparency overnight. We're just slowly negotiating how much of it we're willing to give up. So we want you to pay attention. We want you to think about this. We want you to call us if you see it happening in your market. We'd love to have the discussion. We don't believe it's anything to be fearful about. We just think it's just that next shiny object. And maybe
I
a
think
year
so.
from now, um, this is not going to be a big deal. Here's the bottom line. I don't know how any realtor could sit in front of somebody and say with a straight face, I'm going to limit the exposure of your property. I believe that's in your best interest to limit the exposure to your property.
No, the only way they can get away with saying it is
That
like,
was it.
this is how we test your price. This is how we test your price. That's how they're being taught to say.
Right.
So that you can in good conscience say, why would you expose me to a fraction of the marketplace and possibly sell for less value?
Yep. Yep. Which brings me, I think, Paul, that, to finalize this for me, it's like every now and then we have an agent say to us, hey, I need some help. Um, I can't figure out why my listing is not selling or why my listing is not getting showings. And they also will add to that many times something along the lines of, I know I have it priced right.
Yeah.
That causes me to smile a little bit because what we know is that buyers are not stupid. Buyers are as educated as they've ever been. They've got
Hmm.
access to more market data than realtors had for most of their careers. Um, and so the public is making a decision. Sometimes they look at it and they go, the picture does not match the price.
Right.
The numbers, the data doesn't match the price. There's no need to even go look at that. We've got houses over here that have got better data, better pictures, and so we're just going to leave that one alone. Other times, we get people to come and look. And what we realize at that moment is that somehow our wording is more attractive than reality. So they read about it, they see it, and they go, I want to see that property. But then they just walk. And and then the sellers are going, yeah, but we never hear anything. We don't get any comments. Well, guess what? Most most buyers are not going to spend a lot of time following up to talk to a seller or an agent about why they're not going to buy that property. They just move on,
Hmm.
let their feet do the talking. And so anyway, I think, Paul, that you're right. It's about FOMO. It's about somebody tried to create something here that they tried to create a solution for something that there is no problem. I mean, we've had, in my opinion, we've had the most incredible market experience over the last 40, 50 years. The markets are completely open. Everybody has access to everything instantaneously.
We've
Why
seen we've seen
would
what we've
you?
seen. We've seen like 13, 14 years of values going like this.
Yeah,
Whose value is being suppressed by improper marketing right now?
yeah. If you want to grow your company, why not build a better mousetrap? Why go down
Well,
this
I
road?
think I think that's what they're trying to convince us they're doing.
And but it doesn't, there's that thing called don't believe your lying eyes or cognitive dissonance, where your brain and what you're seeing don't match up. And it's like, this
Yeah.
just doesn't match up, does it?
Yeah.
So anyway, well, that's all I've got today.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, we will keep our eyes on the market, keep our eyes on the private markets and all the news to keep you guys updated. But um, as of right now, I think it's more of a talking point amongst realtors than it is people actually buying and selling.
the
And
public is
we'll
not clamoring.
what's
By the
that?
One last thought. I had an email from some attorneys that were involved at a very high level with some of the largest brokers out there. And he wrote me this morning. He said, "Hey, this Compass thing," he said, they bit off way more than they can chew. And he said, on top of that, the DOJ and the state attorney generals are going to be all over this for discrimination type situations when somebody realizes they didn't get access to something and they were deprived of access. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like a win to me. I mean, if let other than that to say if private listing networks were to take off, well, then guess what? We'll be there. If that's
Yep.
how the game is going to be played, then we'll join in. But in the meantime,
Absolutely.
I don't see how limiting your exposure to the marketplace in any way, shape, or form is beneficial to your clients. So, all
Yep.
right.
All right.
Hey, guys.
Thanks. We'll see you, man. Bye.